A little bit about the Lions side of things, because changes there, Lewis. Ben Johnson, of course, he's the Bears head coach, so John Morton now the offensive coordinator. What do you expect to see out of them, and do you see them taking a step back offensively specifically?
No, I don't. Look, obviously John Morton has some big shoes to fill with Ben Johnson, but look, I think Dan Campbell has kind of already established philosophically who they want to be. They tried to fortify their offensive line with the drafting of Tate Ratledge out of Georgia. If you throw on his tape, he's one of the most athletic guards in this draft, and he can do it all. So look, I think philosophically this team is kind of entrenched in terms of who they want to be, how they want to play, the kind of people that they're trying to draft and they're trying to bring in there. And I think on the defensive side as well, Kelvin Shepard, it's going to be more of the same of what you saw from Aaron Glenn. Obviously, every defensive coordinator has his own style. Will he play as much man-to-man? Will he blitz and get after you as much as Aaron did? We'll see. But I think philosophically, because of how solid they are, Laura, I think this team will pick up where it left off.
I think this was one of the, if not the most detail-oriented offenses in the NFL. Not only with the creativity and the talent, but the details. They lost some of those coaches. Ben Johnson took some of those coaches to Chicago. I think that is the biggest question mark I have about Detroit offensively. Can they be obsessive with their details and their creativity like they have been in the past 2 years?
Remember when Philadelphia lost both their coordinators from a Super Bowl caliber team?
It took a year.
It took a year for them to rebound.
The quarterback's coach is now the offensive coordinator of the Jets. And a lot of times they call that the brain drain when the coaches all leave. You get that from a Super Bowl team.
Antoine Randall, I thought, was one of the best coaches in football.
This team didn't even make the NFC Championship game last year. So you had that opportunity. They did the year before, but I think that's a fair question.
Well, I mean, they didn't make the NFC Championship game a lot of times. Well, a lot of it had to do with attrition too. I mean, they were just beat the crap.
I was just going to say there were so many
But I'm with
injuries.
you. But they sure did add some players in this draft. Remember this name, Isaac Teslaw from Arkansas, the wide receiver too. They've got some players now.
That was a nice pickup. They took advantage of some of that depth later on in the draft. All right, we're just getting started on NFL Live.
Okay, let's talk about this. Okay. Listen, I think it's totally fair to think that they're going to take a step back. But it's like, I think when people hear that, and I've talked about this a lot, is that this idea that they can take a step back and now that means that they're going to fall off a cliff. That they're going to go from the best points per game and they're now going to drop to the last points per game. And I don't think that. And I do think that this offense will change and evolve. So I don't think that they're going to pick up where they left off because I think this offense is going to change. I don't think it's going to be as creative and as dynamic and as experimental. And I think that's totally fine. The Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl and they were not creative. They were not lighting the league on fire with all of their trick plays and this or that. If you go watch their games, like AJ and Devontae are not schemed wide open and they're not schemed to have amazing yards after catch. Like, it's very much just like, we got the guys, we got the O-line, we got the run game, we got the quarterback, we're just going to play you straight up. That's what it's going to come. We're just going to lean on you and you're eventually going to break. It was very straightforward. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is just genius level offense. It's like, no, we just got the better guys. And we're going to rely on our guys to get the job done. They talked about this on NFL Live after the Packers game. And it was with Ryan Clark and Dan Orlovsky. And Orlovsky was pointing out that the wide receivers were not really open for the Eagles against the Packers. And how it's like that a lot throughout the season. And Ryan Clark and Dan Orlovsky were like, why do you think that is? And they were just like, because the offense is set around of just being like, A.J. Brown is that dude, okay? Like, it's just set up around just to be like, yeah, we're going to throw the 50-50, all right, let's go, and we're just going to bet on our guy getting it done. Same thing with the run game as well. Now, there was creativity with, like, the RPOs and that type of situation, but it was still very much like we're relying on our guys. We rely on the talent more than the brains, and I think the Lions, and I said this all throughout last season, that they have this awesome balance between the brawn and the brains, the intensity and the intellect and the IQ. And I do think they're going to lose a little bit of the IQ, but there's no reason to believe that they're going to lose any of the level of intensity. And I think you can make the argument that sometimes you can outthink things. And I just feel as though that this team will probably run more, be a little bit less reliant on passing, which I think is totally fine and totally fair. I do think that they are going to try to play more straight up style football. They're not going to try to constantly send a message. I think this team has been humbled a little bit, which I think is a good thing. Just like the Philadelphia Eagles were humbled in 2023. They were ready to get high on their own supply from 22 into 23. They got humbled, had to make serious changes. 2024, boom, won the Super Bowl. Like that's how these things can often work here. So I think this Lions team evolving and changing and growing, I think it's necessary, quite frankly. I really, really do. I think there's a great chance that Jared Goff does take a slight step back. Again, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that Jared Goff is going to go from a top 5 quarterback to a bottom 5 quarterback, right? But it's just like, and I'm making up numbers completely. Let's say he was the 5th best quarterback with Ben Johnson. I think it's fair to say that he's now going to be the 8th best quarterback or the 9th best quarterback, but that's still good enough to win when you have a good enough team, which the Lions clearly do. And so, it's also different when you're players. And I think a lot of fans at home don't fully understand this unless you really played sports. When you have new voices, when you have new coaching staff, it's a new relationship. Even if you have the guys in the room already, even if some of the guys have been promoted within the franchise, it's just different. It's different because you're just talking to them in different ways now. The relationship is different. The voices, the philosophy, the how practices are run, film study, like it is different. It's just a different experience that you also have to get comfortable with and grow and evolve with, right? Like new relationships need to be forged. Like think of it like this. It's like if you if you start to date someone who is already in your friend group, in your friend circle, it's completely different from when you guys were all just hanging out in a group and being friends compared to when you're actually dating them. It's completely different. Yeah, you know the person. Yeah, you've been around the person. Yeah, you know what their laugh sounds like and what they look like, but it's different when you're dating them. And so that is also something that the Lions will deal with, even if some of the coaching staff has already been around. It's just things are different. And so again, and both sides kind of have to understand that and again, grow and evolve with that. So, that's just a long-winded way to say that it's just like, it's not an easy, it's not an easy situation to just have immediate success just off the jump. To me, it's irrational to believe that they will be 33.2 points per game like they were last season. To just lose someone like a Ben Johnson, have to kind of change things around offensively, and to just think like, yeah, we'll just pick up where we left off. If that was the case, then coaching just doesn't matter at all. And I don't think we have to downplay the impact that Ben Johnson had as an offensive coordinator for this team. I think we can say, hey, you know what? This offense is going to change. We'll probably maybe score a little bit less or, whatever it may be. But we're still going to be a great team. We're still a Super Bowl contender. We're still going to get the job done, right? You can still have that belief within them. So, but yeah, no, it's definitely a wait and see situation for sure. But this team is too good and too well coached at the very least with Dan Campbell, just, regardless of the coordinators, that they'll always be a threat. This Lions team, even if they had the worst coordinators under the sun, which I don't believe they do, but I'm just saying, even if they had the worst coordinators under the sun, this team is so relentless and so well prepared that I think is led by Dan Campbell that they'll be able to win like 8 games or just off of sheer will alone, right? Then the rest is in the details. The rest is with the coordinators and everything else. So that's why I'm not going to just have the Lions fall off a cliff here. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Detroit Lions? Where do you what do you think will be any type of regression, any type of step back from last year into this year? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.